America has to go back to being a nation that builds and manufactures. And tariffs are one of the main ways you do that.
Okay, why has manufacturing declined? I mean, you can't just, I get that talking point, and you said it,
sold out
the
our country for 30
administration says
years.
it all the time. But the facts don't back up a manufacturing renaissance. In fact, manufacturing investment has gone down compared to the Biden years. How do you justify that when you're claiming the tariffs are supposed to bring back manufacturing?
No, I'm saying the vision you have to think of for the next 20 years.
I'm not talking vision. I'm talking reality. What is the reality of how tariffs have affected the economy?
Welcome back to Top Debate Commentary YouTube channel. This video from CNN, titled, "Will Regular Americans Get Any of $100 billion in Trump Tariff Refunds?" examines the economic realities and logistical challenges surrounding the administration's plan to return $100 billion in tariff revenue to the public. The report highlights the tension between the administration's promises of economic prosperity and the ongoing financial pressures felt by many American households. A significant portion of the discussion focuses on the practicality of such a large-scale refund program. Experts in the video analyze whether the necessary infrastructure is in place to ensure these funds actually reach average citizens, or if the distribution mechanism is flawed. A key theme throughout the report is the impact of tariff policies on the cost of living. The video questions whether these refunds, even if implemented, would adequately offset the higher prices consumers have faced due to tariff-related inflation. By incorporating both expert economic analysis and the perspectives of everyday Americans, the report challenges the narrative that these refunds are a straightforward or guaranteed benefit for the public. It serves as an investigative look at how high-level government policy translates, or fails to translate, into direct financial relief for families across the country. Let's continue with the video.
Corporate America seems to be benefiting from the tariff refund. In new court filings, the White House has actually paid back now $100 billion since the Supreme Court struck down President Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. Companies like Apple received more than $2 billion. Amazon says that it got $600 million, and Nike recovered $300 million. So how much did the average American receive out of this? Well, almost certainly nothing. But Trump is doubling down on this marquee piece of his agenda.
You're here to talk about the economy.
Right.
What's your big message? You want to leave one takeaway with this crowd. What is it?
So tariffs have been incredible. We've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars. Supreme Court gave us a little shot, but we're allowed to do it in a different manner.
That is being challenged, by the way, that he can do it in a different manner. But I mean, Trump is not going to learn. And I think the optics of this are pretty bad. You know, these corporations are basically getting a massive windfall. They did absorb a lot of those costs, some of them that were passed down to consumers. And if you bought something from overseas, you're not ever probably seeing that money again.
No, I'm not getting any of the money back on my bundles, and that's okay.
All the shopping that you've been doing, Yemisi, you're not going to get that money back.
And I don't know how businesses, especially small businesses, are supposed to even get that money down to the consumers, because if I'm a business, I'm scared in this economy. I'm keeping the cash that I have for my cash reserves. I've probably overextended on some business loans that I need to pay back. I mean, I think a lot of people are just trying to catch up. There's not an excess to give more to the consumer.
The other thing that stands out is the speed at which this is happening. The Supreme Court decision was February of this year. Within less than 6 months, they gave out $100 billion.
And that's actually not even close to the total.
Yeah.
Because that's really just from the beginning of this year. It's a phased process. So there's a lot more money that's going to go out.
My mother broke her ankle. It's 3 months with Medicare. We're trying to get reimbursed for a $300 x-ray. You need to fill out 2 forms, have 7 receipts. You have to sign something in blue ink, witnessed by a Hare Krishna during a full moon, and then you have to have her left ankle notarized. Like it's so set up for the corporations and that top 1% against all of the average Americans. And this is another example of that, unfortunately.
J.D. Vance was on Fox News tonight, and he was actually calling out the socialists who are running in races across the country. But here's what he said about socialism. Listen.
This is exactly what El Sayed and these limousine socialists are actually selling to the American people. They're not promising you industry. They're not promising you good jobs. They're not promising self-sufficiency and a good industrial economy. What they're promising is redistribution. Again, we've seen this in Europe and in the United States. The idea that you can build real prosperity by just redistributing assets from one group to another group, that's not how you build real prosperity.
I mean, it seems...
Let's dive straight into the wild headline popping up on screen. Corporate America was just refunded $100 billion because the Supreme Court decided those emergency tariffs were completely illegal. Right off the bat, look at the expression on host Abby Phillip's face as she breaks this down. She looks like someone who checked her own bank account and realized she isn't on the corporate direct deposit list either. Abby turns to her panel of legal and economic experts, including senior economic analyst Catherine Rampell and legal strategist David Axelrod, and poses the exact question every viewer at home is screaming at their screen. Will regular, everyday Americans see a single dime of this $100 billion? That's when Catherine Rampell steps up to break down the cold, hard reality, and you can practically see the collective gasp across the studio table. Catherine explains that after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down the administration's emergency tariffs, Uncle Sam opened up the ultimate corporate cash back portal and started cutting massive billion-dollar checks right back to Fortune 500 bank accounts. We're talking $100 billion dispersed out of $166 billion collected. Apple bagged $2.2 billion, Ford got $1.3 billion, and Amazon banked $600 million. It is officially the largest rebate check program in human history. And as Abby so dryly points out, regular people weren't invited. Now, Abby pushes panelist David Axelrod on the million-dollar question. Wait a minute. If consumers paid higher prices for toasters, electronics, and groceries last year because of those tariffs, do they get a refund? David's breakdown of the supply chain is pure comedic gold. He explains how the magic trick works. Corporate importers paid the tariff at the port, raised sticker prices on you to cover it, and pocketed your cash at the cash register. Then the Supreme Court declared the tax illegal, so the Treasury pays the refund back to the importer. As David points out, big business got paid twice, once by you and once by the federal government. Abby can only shake her head because that's not just business, that's a 100% bonus multiplier combo move. Catherine Rampell goes on to mention how ridiculous the administrative side is, pointing out that $1.6 billion in extra refunds is actually stuck in limbo right now because dozens of massive corporations haven't even put their direct deposit routing numbers on file yet. Imagine being so rich that the federal government is trying to hand you $50 million and you just leave the notification on read while Abby, Catherine, David, and the rest of us are out here checking behind the couch cushions. To wrap up the segment, Abby Phillip and the panel highlight the ultimate plot twist. Right after handing back this $100 billion, the administration turned right around and slapped brand new replacement tariffs on over 60 trading partners under a totally different law. As Abby so perfectly sums it up for the table, corporate America gets $100 billion back today, consumers paid for it yesterday, and we all get to pay the new tariffs tomorrow. It's the economic circle of life.
It's like it's redistribution for me, but not for thee, because they literally said they were going to use the tariff money to reimburse farmers who were hurt by the tariffs. They also put tariffs on the economy, and guess what? We lost manufacturing jobs in that time.
But again, the loss for the Trump administration was the Supreme Court case. The Supreme Court decided this issue. The case was brought by roughly the same attorneys general who are now bringing the case against the new Trump tariffs. This is the decision they sought. This is the relief they sought. This is what the actual appellants to this case wanted to happen. And now the same people are saying, well, I can't believe the money's going back to these corporations.
Well, that's because they broke the law.
That was always going to happen. The problem here is that Trump believes in tariffs. There's no question about that. He thinks they're doing the right thing. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. We'll save that for another day. The point is, once he lost the case, it's out of his control. This is what the court mandated.
Well,
and here we
actually, the mechanism by which they reimburse is completely within their control.
Right.
The court just said the tariffs are illegal. They decide how they reimburse, and they've created a process that makes it possible for large corporations to get reimbursed.
You have to give it back to
but
the
if you
reporters. The
are,
reporters are some of these
but if
major
you are a
corporations.
regular person,
You didn't import and pay the tax. You paid it downstream. Yes, I understand that.
Some people did, and it's
the money had to go back to the
difficult
importers. That was
process
the decision.
to get that money back.
This is the greatest redistribution of wealth in the history of the United States, and it is coming from regular, everyday Americans who are just trying to pay their bills, pay their grocery bill, buy a car, make sure that their kids have everything they need when they're heading back to school in the fall, and it is going into the hands of people who already have so
Especially
much.
when the economy's hurt because of the Iran war. If anybody needed it now, but
The average person lost $2,000 last year because of
the government can call all these companies in and go, look, you need to filter some of this down to the people. Figure it out, and we'll figure it out with you. And that's a choice that they're not doing that.
And Donald Trump has the influence to do that.
Some companies, to be fair, are saying, either if you're Amazon, because Amazon sells, they have both business merchants and consumer merchants. So they're going to try to give back some tariffs to certain customers. But other companies are hedging against future cost increases by saying they're going to use the tariff refunds to keep prices lower, because guess what? Trump is trying to keep the tariffs.
Yeah.
And he's being sued, as Joe pointed out, by 25 states who are basically arguing that these new tariffs, are a pretext for the same old tariffs that are going to raise prices on Americans yet again.
Well, there's no... Right around this moment, host Abby Phillip turns to the panel and drops the ultimate $64,000 question that economic policy wonks have been arguing about for decades. Are tariffs actually the right strategy to help everyday Americans? And the second Abby asks that, senior economic analyst Catherine Rampell basically pounces on the question with the sheer enthusiasm of an economist who has been waiting all morning to explain why trade policy is currently a complete cluster. Catherine points out the central illusion of the whole debate. Tariffs are always packaged and sold on cable news as this heroic, shield-bearing policy that is going to defend American manufacturing and punish foreign competitors. But in the cold, hard reality of modern supply chains, Catherine explains that a tariff is not a magic tax on foreign countries at all. It is literally just a massive sales tax slapped onto domestic importers who turn around and pass every single penny directly down to you at the grocery store checkout counter or the electronics aisle. Then legal and political strategist David Axelrod jumps into the fray to break down the sheer political theater driving the entire strategy. David points out that tariffs are the ultimate campaign soundbite, because saying I'm going to slap a 25% tax on foreign goods sounds tough, muscular, and simple on a podium. But once you look at the actual chain reaction, as David lays out, the policy ends up eating its own tail. You end up in a bizarre multi-billion-dollar game of economic pinball where the government illegally taxes American companies, companies inflate prices for American consumers, the Supreme Court steps in to order a $100 billion corporate refund, and everyday working families are left holding the receipt for higher inflation with absolutely zero reimbursement. Abby Phillip looks across the table at Catherine Rampell and David Axelrod and sums up the absurdity perfectly. If the stated goal of this tariff strategy was to protect the American worker, build up domestic industry, and put money back into the pockets of the middle class, watching $100 billion flow straight out of the U.S. Treasury and into Fortune 500 bank accounts, while regular consumers are hit with a brand new round of replacement tariffs, proves the strategy is working for everyone except the people it was promised to help. As Catherine rightly notes, it turns out that trying to protect American consumers by taxing everything they buy is like trying to fix a leaky roof by dumping a bucket of water through the ceiling.
Two ways about it that tariffs built our country. Like when you look at Mount Rushmore and you see all the presidents there, every single one of them were high tariffs. Like you have to have a way. If you're going to do tax, you can do it in a multitude of ways. You tax foreign imports rather than giving income tax to people, and it creates one of two things,
that was in a
right?
completely different economy.
My point is
the
that,
world economy doesn't work that way.
And
by
so
the way, things were already so
on.
expensive.
So there's a case to be made that you have to adapt tariffs to the 21st century. And Jameson Greer's not doing a great job. The way he's done it, he's lost every case that he's done. Like, we got to be better about this, because here's the deal, guys. You got to be thinking 10, 20 years in the future.
You can't blame Jameson Greer for this.
Has to go, but one way or another, hold on, America has to go back to being a nation that builds and manufactures. And tariffs are one of the main ways you do that.
Okay, why has manufacturing declined? I mean, you can't just, I get that talking point, and you said it,
sold out
the
our country for 30
administration says
years.
it all the time, but the facts don't back up a manufacturing renaissance. In fact, manufacturing investment has gone down compared to the Biden years. How do you justify that when you're claiming the tariffs are supposed to bring back manufacturing?
No, I'm saying the vision you have to think of for the next 20 years. I'm
not talking vision. I'm talking reality.
Right,
what is the reality of how tariffs have affected the economy? Some industries might benefit in the short term from tariffs, but in the long run, the broader economy is going to suffer. That is what we have seen happen.
Tariffs work.
To do what?
The way that
to
the
raise
Trump
prices for
is currently
Americans?
going about it
in the long run,
not successful.
Tariffs
And
work by raising
redistribute-
prices for consumers.
No.
That is how they work.
And
They work by incentivizing domestic
because we've
production when
allowed
they
lower
work.
prices.
Where have they
Labor.
incentivized domestic production?
That's why I'm saying Jameson Greer, like he's the guy in the
it's
job.
not Jameson Greer's
telling
fault.
you,
Better policy.
it actually hasn't happened.
But the bottom line is the concept of tariffs, when properly applied and adjusted to the 21st century, work. And nobody's answered my question, which is how are you going to return
You can't say
America
something
to
worked when it
manufacturing
didn't
and
work.
being
I mean, you're claiming that it works, but you're providing absolutely no evidence.
It's China builds. China makes stuff, guys.
Carolyn,
Where's the evidence that tariffs have worked?
Right, there's zero evidence that tariffs work, but at the end of the day, Donald Trump was elected because he promised, what did he say 1,000,000 times on the campaign trail? On day one, everything will get less expensive. Your grocery bills will go down, your car payment will go down, and the first thing he did was to make everything more expensive, and that was before the war in Iran. He has destroyed an economy that was already on shaky ground.
Abby Phillip turns back to Catherine Rampell and David Axelrod to tie a bow on this whole topic with the ultimate wrap-up question. Are these new replacement tariffs actually any different from the old ones that the Supreme Court just struck down? Or is this just the exact same movie with a different title? And Catherine Rampell basically breaks out the economic decoding ring to explain that from a consumer perspective, they are virtually identical, but from a legal paperwork perspective, it's a total shell game. Catherine points out that the administration's end goal hasn't shifted by a single millimeter. They still want sweeping import taxes on foreign goods coming into the country. The only real difference is the statutory cover story. The old tariffs relied on emergency national executive powers, which the Supreme Court shot down 6-3. So to keep the exact same policy running, the administration turned right around and invoked Section 301 of the Trade Act, slapping new levies on nearly 60 trading partners under the banner of fighting foreign trade practices. Same higher sticker prices, same hit to consumer wallets, just wrapped in a brand new legal envelope. David Axelrod jumps in to break down the sheer political comedy of how this all plays out. David notes that what we're watching is the trade policy equivalent of getting kicked out of the front door by the Supreme Court, walking around to the back patio, putting on a fake mustache, and walking right back in through the sliding glass door. David emphasizes that whether the White House calls it an emergency national defense measure or a Section 301 investigation, the operational outcome for regular consumers remains 100% unchanged. The prices at Target, Walmart, and Home Depot don't go down just because the administration cited a different section of the United States Code. Abby Phillip looks across the desk at Catherine Rampell and David Axelrod and sums up the entire breakdown in classic host fashion. She notes that while the White House Trade Office spent months in legal gymnastics coming up with new justifications, everyday Americans are caught in an endless economic loop. Corporate America gets $100 billion refunded from the old legal mistake, consumers get $0 back for the price hikes they already paid, and everyone gets hit with brand new replacement tariffs under a brand new name tomorrow. It's the ultimate economic circle of life. That wraps up our deep dive into this $100 billion tariff wild ride. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to the channel for more sharp, humorous breakdowns of the biggest news stories. We'll see you next time.